The table was still warm when my grandmother pushed her chair back and reached for the little brown crock near the stove. We had eaten bean soup that evening, thick with carrots and onion, and there was warm bread beside it. I remember the steam rising from the bowls, and the way my younger brother leaned back with both hands on his stomach, making a face because he had eaten too quickly. My grandmother did not scold him. She only smiled a little, took a pinch of seeds between her fingers, and set the kettle back over the heat. I can still hear the spoon tapping the side of the cup. She said, "A belly needs kindness after a meal, not more trouble." At the time, I thought she was only speaking to a child who had eaten too much bread. But later, when I became a wife and then a mother, I understood she was teaching something much older than that. In our home, after a heavy meal, no one rushed away from the table. No one filled the stomach with cold drinks. No one lay down with the body still working hard. There was one small habit, simple as breathing, and the women before us kept it faithfully. That is the thing I want to share with you today. In our community, many women have always known that the way you finish a meal matters almost as much as what you put on the plate. A meal does not end when the last bite is swallowed. It ends when the body has been given a little warmth, a little movement, and a little patience. When women ask me why we did not often complain about the tight, swollen feeling after eating, I think first of that brown crock by my grandmother's stove. It held fennel seed most often, and sometimes caraway or anise. Those seeds were not fancy. They were not expensive. They were ordinary enough to be overlooked. But ordinary things can be very faithful. The habit was this. After the meal, we took something warm and bittersweet for the stomach. Then we moved gently before sitting down again. Not much, not enough to call exercise, just enough to remind the body that it was not time to grow heavy and still. There are a few ways Amish women have done this, and I will tell you the ones I learned at home. They are small things, but small things, done every day, have a way of becoming strong. My grandmother's first way was fennel seed tea. She kept the seeds in a crock with a wooden lid, away from dampness, because she said a seed loses its goodness when it is forgotten in a cupboard too long. After supper, especially if we had cabbage, beans, potatoes, onions, or anything fried in a pan, she would put 1 level teaspoon of fennel seed into a cup. Not a heaping spoon, just 1 level teaspoon. Then she would crush the seeds a little with the back of the spoon. She did not grind them to powder. She only bruised them enough for their smell to rise. That is how she knew they were still good. She poured 1 cup of boiling water over them, covered the cup with a small saucer, and let it sit for 10 minutes. That covering mattered. My mother always said the steam carries part of the plant with it, and you do not want all the goodness floating away into the kitchen air. After 10 minutes, she strained it and sipped it warm. Sometimes she added a half teaspoon of honey, especially for a child, but most of the time she took it plain. In my experience, fennel seed has always been one of the gentlest things for a stomach that feels stretched after eating. It has a sweet smell, almost like licorice, but softer. In our community, it was used after meals that were known to sit heavy. Bean soup, sauerkraut, fresh bread, milk gravy, anything that made the belly feel as though it had too much work at once. My mother did not call it medicine. She called it finishing the meal properly. That is an important difference. When something becomes part of the rhythm of the home, the body receives it differently. It is not panic. It is not punishment for eating. It is care. The second way was caraway. Caraway seed lived in our kitchen because we used it in rye bread, cabbage, and sometimes in potatoes. My grandmother believed that certain foods carried their own helpers with them. Cabbage and caraway belong together. Rye and caraway belong together. Heavy food and warm seed belong together. If fennel was not at hand, She would take half a teaspoon of caraway seed after a meal and chew it slowly. Slowly is the part many people miss. She did not toss it in her mouth and swallow it like a pill. She chewed until the taste became sharp and warm. Then she swallowed. After that, she took a few sips of warm water. For tea, she used half a teaspoon of caraway seed to 1 cup of boiling water, covered for 10 minutes the same way as fennel. Caraway is stronger than fennel, so a little is enough. I have made this myself many times when a meal was rich or when the weather was cold and we had eaten more than usual. There is something steadying about it. It wakes the mouth first, and then the stomach seems to understand what is being asked of it. After the second cup had been poured, my grandmother would often say, "Do not sit too soon." That is the part I want you to remember, because the seed was only half the habit. The third way was the after-supper walk. Not a long walk, not a hard walk, no hurrying. In our home, it might only be around the yard, down the lane to check the hens, or out to the porch and back again. In winter, it might be walking through the downstairs rooms while dishes were being washed. 10 minutes was enough. My mother always said the stomach does not like to be pressed while it is working. If you eat and then sink into a soft chair, bent at the waist, everything inside feels crowded. But if you stand upright, breathe easy, and move at a gentle pace, the body has more room to do what it already knows how to do. I know that sounds almost too simple, but many good things do. After meals, the women would clear plates, carry water, fold a cloth, step outside for a moment, bring scraps to the chickens, or walk a little with a child. It was not called a health habit. It was simply how the house moved after supper. That movement kept us from becoming heavy and sleepy too quickly. It also kept us from eating past fullness, because no one wanted to rise from the table feeling stuffed when there was still a little work to do. In my experience, bloating often comes not only from what we eat, but from how we eat and what we do right afterward. A stomach that is rushed before the meal, crowded during the meal, and ignored after the meal will often speak up. Quietly at first, then louder. The fourth way was warm water with a little apple cider vinegar, but this one was used with more care. My mother did not give vinegar to every person, and she did not use it every day. Some stomachs like it, and some do not. That is why I always say to begin gently and pay attention to your own body. For those who did well with it, she would put 1 teaspoon of apple cider vinegar into a small cup of warm water. Not cold water, warm. Sometimes she added a small spoon of honey if the vinegar was too sharp. This was taken after a very rich meal, especially when there had been meat, gravy, or fried potatoes. It was never taken strong. My grandmother said strong things make the body brace itself, and bracing is not the same as helping. 1 teaspoon in warm water was enough. I have known women who liked this little drink after supper, and I have known women who preferred fennel every time. There is no shame in either. The old ways were never meant to force one body into another woman's pattern. That is another thing modern advice often forgets. Your body has a voice. Plain women learned to listen because we did not have cabinets full of bottles for every small discomfort. We watched. We remembered. We asked our mothers. We noticed which foods sat well and which ones caused trouble. We learned that a meal eaten in peace often settled better than the same meal eaten in hurry. The 5th part of the habit is the simplest, and maybe the hardest today. Do not drink a large cold glass with your meal, and do not flood the stomach right after eating. In our home, there was water on the table, of course, but we did not gulp it down. My grandmother believed too much cold liquid with heavy food made the stomach work harder. Whether you believe it the same way or not, I can tell you this. When I began raising my own children, the ones who swallowed their food quickly and drank cold water with it were the ones most likely to come back saying their belly hurt. My mother would hand them warm fennel tea and tell them to walk a little. She was usually right. If you are used to drinking a great deal with meals, you do not have to change everything at once. Try taking small sips during the meal, and then wait a little before drinking more. After 10 or 15 minutes, take warm tea if you want something in the stomach. Warmth is gentle. Cold can be a shock, especially after rich food. This is not a rule to make life narrow. It is only a way of paying attention. I know life is different outside our community. Many women eat standing at the counter. Some eat in the car. Some finish supper while answering messages or caring for someone else. I understand that. A quiet meal can feel like a luxury when the whole day has pulled at you. And when the stomach feels tight afterward, it is easy to reach for something quick from a bottle or a packet. I do not judge that. There is a place for many kinds of help, and I am not a doctor. But I do believe the body is often asking for simpler things before stronger things. Slow down while eating. Do not swallow your meal as though someone is taking it from you. Take warmth afterward. Stand up straight. Walk a little. Let the body finish what the meal began. That is all my grandmother was doing when she put the kettle back over the heat. She was not making something complicated. She was protecting the quiet order of the body. I think of that often now. After supper in our house, when the children were small and the table was noisy, I would sometimes see one of them leaning back with that same look my brother had years ago. Too much bread, too many potatoes, too fast. I would reach for the fennel, 1 teaspoon, crushed lightly, 1 cup boiling water, covered 10 minutes. Then I would say what my grandmother said, though I did not understand it fully until I had a home of my own. A belly needs kindness after a meal, not more trouble. And kindness can be very plain. It can be a warm cup held in both hands. It can be 10 slow minutes walking through the yard. It can be leaving the table before you are stuffed. It can be choosing not to drown the meal in cold water. It can be listening before the body has to complain. That little brown crock by the stove is gone now. I do not know what became of it. But I still keep fennel seed in my kitchen, and when I open the jar, the smell brings me back to my grandmother's table, to the steam over the soup bowls, to the sound of the spoon against the cup. Some wisdom does not arrive loudly. It sits near the stove and waits for us to remember. If this was useful to you, I am glad. Begin with the gentlest part. A small cup of fennel tea after your heaviest meal. A slow walk. A little less hurry. Do it for a week and notice how your body speaks. Next time, I want to share something my mother kept for the nights when the stomach would not settle and sleep would not come. It was simple, but we trusted it. You are welcome to stay for that. Until next time. Miriam.